Let's take a look at some homework examples from section 7.4. This first problem is similar to number 4. A deli lets customers build their own sandwich. They can select from 3 types of bread, 2 types of cheese, 4 types of meat, and a sauce. Using these ingredients, how many different sandwiches are possible? This is an example of the multiplication rule of counting, where in order to figure out the total number, we simply multiply the number of choices there are for each one of these items. So as we read through this list, we can see that there's a bread choice, a cheese, a meat choice, and a sauce choice. So as we read through, we see there are 3 types of bread, 2 types of cheese, 4 types of meat, and 4 types of sauce. So we have 3 times 2, which is 6, times 4 is 24, times 4 more is 96. So there are 96 different sandwich possibilities based on part A. Now for part B, they want to switch things up just a little bit, and they say, oh, we forgot to tell you, there's actually 3 types of ham, and there's actually 2 types of rye bread. And so you might be tempted to go, oh, I just need to multiply my first answer by 3 and by 2. But that's not the case. All right, 3 types of ham means that we have turkey, roast beef, ham, and then salami. 2 types of rye mean we have wheat, white, rye 1, rye 2. So bread now becomes 4. There's still just 2 types of cheese. Now when we have the meat, turkey, roast beef, ham, and salami. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's now 6 types of meat, and there's still 4 different kinds of sauces. So when they throw these little extra wrinkles in here, think about, maybe make a list and think about what this means, and then line up your numbers and multiply them together. On this slide, we're going to look at some examples of permutations and combinations. In a permutation, order matters. In a combination, order doesn't matter. And notice we use 2 distinct formulas depending on which type of problem it is. So let's look at some of these examples I took here off the internet, and we'll talk about whether it's a permutation or a combination. So let's look at number 9. In a team of 17 softball players, 3 have to go and refill the water cooler. So in that sense, if you lined up all 17 players and you randomly picked Jill, Mary, and Alice to go fill the water cooler, would it matter if you said Jill, Mary, Alice? Is there some reward for Jill for being chosen first? Or would that be the same group as if you said Mary, Alice, Jill? Hopefully you're thinking it would be the same group whether you said Jill, Mary, Alice, or Mary, Alice, Jill. The same 3 people would have to go. That makes this a combination. Let's look at number 11. The student body of 10 students wants to elect a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So if we pick 4 students, and let's say George becomes president, and then we have 3 others, is that a different experience than if George got elected to the treasurer? Hopefully you're thinking yes. I mean, order matters. President, for most people, would be the highest goal they'd want to seek, and that would be like winning. And so if you wanted to be president, but you didn't win that, you ended up just being the treasurer, well, you might be happy, but that's not the same thing. Every role is not equal, so order matters, and that makes it a permutation. Now let's look at how you solve a permutation like number 11, because there's 2 ways you can do number 11. You could say, okay, if there's 10 students for president, there's 10 possible choices. Well, once somebody is elected president, there's only 9 choices for vice president, and then there would be 8 choices for secretary, and there would be 7 choices for treasurer. So you would take 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 in order to determine how many different ways this election could play out. Now, if we were using the permutation formula, it would be 10 factorial over 10 minus 4 factorial. So it'd be 10 factorial over 6 factorial, which ends up being 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 factorial over 6 factorial. Away they go, and there's our answer again, 10 times 9 times 8 times 7. Let's look at number 12 now. Selecting which 7 players will be in the batting order on an 11-person team. Well, I'm doing number 12 because it's going to be similar to number 10. Now, does it matter in the batting order which 7 players will be selected to play? Well, let's assume at this moment it doesn't matter, and we just know that out of 11 people, 7 get to play. Well, if that's the case, then you don't care as long as you're one of those 7 people. So this would be a combination where we would go 11C7. So we would have 11 factorial over, and now we follow the formula, 7 factorial, 4 factorial. So it's similar to a permutation in this sense, but this extra factorial down here divides out the duplicate groups. So we would take 11 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 factorial over 7 factorial times 4 factorial. So the 7 factorials will divide out. So we'd have 11 times 10 times 9 times 8, and then we would divide that by 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 to determine how many different groups of 7 would play out of these 11. But now I'm going to change it up a bit to resemble 10b. So what if we knew for a fact that one person had to be in the starting lineups? All right, if the star had to be in the starting lineups, out of those 11 person, one kid, Bob, had to play. Well, that means Bob is filling the first spot. Bob's playing in the first spot. So then how many other ways can this happen then? Then we'd have 10 players left for the second spot, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. So instead of having 11 choices for the first spot, we only have 1 because Bob's got to play, and then we would figure out how many are left to fill the other spots. So hopefully this will help with problems 8 and 10.